They will tell you to wait, to be patient, to calm down, that you have time, that now is not the moment, that the odds are against you, that the fire you feel is just a phase, a fleeting emotion, a passing spark that will fade. But you must burn every word of that into ash. Because the truth? You are not here to live a life of delay. You are not here to crawl through existence waiting for permission to rise. You are not here to blend in, fit in, conform, and be digestible to a world addicted to mediocrity. You are born with fire, and fire either consumes you or you learn to wield it. Every excuse you've ever told yourself, every justification for staying small, every rationalization for shrinking from your greatness is fuel. It is kindling. And today, we burn it all. Excuses are the bricks of a prison you build with your own hands. Every time you say, "I'm not ready," you're laying down another stone. Every time you say, "It's too late," you're pouring cement over your own potential. Every time you blame your parents, your past, your pain, you tighten the chains and call it reality. But you didn't come this far to be ruled by ghosts. You didn't survive what you survived just to stop here. The ones who build empires, spiritual, financial, legacy, aren't born with golden blood or divine contracts. They are born like you, thrown into the chaos, wired with fear, handed the same deck of broken systems and half-truths. But they make one decision that changes everything. They stop negotiating with their weakness. They look their excuses in the eye and say, "You will not run my life anymore." That's the turning point, the moment when the world shifts. Because power doesn't begin with action. It begins with decision. A decision to own everything, every failure, every setback, every self-sabotage. To take it, absorb it, and transmute it into discipline, into clarity, into absolute relentless focus. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times to create a single light bulb filament. Most would call that madness. He called it feedback. Henry Ford was laughed out of multiple factories before he revolutionized production. Carnegie started with nothing and turned steel into gold because he mastered one principle: control your thoughts, or they will control you. You don't need easier circumstances. You need a stronger mind. Every empire begins in the mind before it manifests in the world. There is no castle without a blueprint, no skyscraper without vision. And there will be no empire without you first becoming a ruler in your own psychology. And that starts with a war. A war against the part of you that seeks comfort. The voice that tells you to sleep in, to try tomorrow, to avoid rejection, to settle for good enough. You must drag that voice out of the shadows, expose it to the light, and burn it. Excuses cannot survive where there is fire. The fire of clarity, the fire of purpose, the fire of a mind that refuses to bow. You want wealth? Then kill the poverty of thought. You want freedom? Then starve your dependence on others to believe in you. You want power? Then take absolute responsibility for every inch of your life, even the parts you didn't cause. Because responsibility isn't blame, it's ownership. And no one builds an empire on land they don't own. Most people are renters in their own life. They lease their dreams to fear. They mortgage their time to distraction. They sell their potential for approval. And then they wonder why they feel empty. But not you, not anymore. You are here to take the throne. Not a throne handed to you by luck, bloodline, or lottery, but a throne you forge in fire, hammering every excuse into a foundation that no storm can break. The road ahead is not easy. Good, because greatness has never been born in comfort. only in the crucible of deliberate transformation. If the voice in your head does not sound like a commander, a visionary, a warrior, then you've been hypnotized by mediocrity. The average person speaks doubt like it's their native tongue. They recite fear like a poem passed down from broken generations. They speak of limits with reverence, but speak of greatness like it's fiction. You must unlearn that language. Your mind is the command center. Every belief is a blueprint. Every thought is a seed. And the world you see around you, the opportunities, the bank account, the confidence, the clarity, none of it exists independently from the thoughts you allow to root in your soil. The wealthiest men in history all understood this. Napoleon Hill didn't write Think and Grow Rich to give you financial advice. He wrote it to wake you up, to reveal the truth that riches, material or spiritual, begin in thought. Persistent thought, obsessive thought, purpose-fueled, laser-locked, relentless thought. He sat with the minds of giants, Edison, Ford, Rockefeller, Carnegie, and they all echoed one message. The mind, properly directed, becomes a magnet for miracles. But undisciplined, it becomes a graveyard. You must become a curator of your consciousness. Refuse entry to thoughts that belittle you. Reject narratives that shrink your destiny. Rewire the internal script until belief becomes your default frequency. Belief is not soft. Belief is not passive. It is a force. It is the trigger that fires mountains into motion. It is belief that turns a single idea into an industry. Belief that turns a survivor into a leader. Belief that takes the man who has nothing and convinces the world he is already something. Steve Jobs believed when no one else did. Oprah believed when the doors were closed. Disney believed when the banks said no 100 times. And you? You must believe before the world applauds, before the crowd cheers, before the money shows up. Because if you wait for evidence, you're too late. Belief creates evidence. See it, speak it, become it. Visualize every inch of your empire before it exists. Smell the air in your future office. Feel the keys to the home you haven't bought yet. Hear the applause after the speech you've yet to give. See the body, the energy, the power that lives inside your highest self. Make it more real in your imagination than the current circumstance in front of you. Because the world bends to those who see it differently. Not someday, but now, right now. Hold the image. Hold it so fiercely, so vividly, that the universe itself has no choice but to rearrange itself around your will. You are not a drifter. You are not a spectator. You are a creator. And creators don't wait for permission. They don't check if the tide is right. They become the storm. The mind is your throne. The vision is your scepter. And belief is the fire in your veins. Let others play small. Let others doubt. Let others watch. You've got work to do, an empire to build. And before the bricks are laid, the blueprint must be burned into your mind. So stop asking how long it will take. Start asking how far you're willing to go. Stop asking if you're worthy. Start declaring that you were born for this. There is no backup plan. There is no plan B for the man or woman who knows who they are. There is only forward, only deeper belief, only the discipline to act on that belief. When it's raining, when it's late, when it's lonely, when it's hard. Because that is when empires are forged, in the silence, in the shadows, in the unseen hours when no one claps for you, when no one sees you bleeding, when only you know the war you're fighting inside. And still, you show up. Every day you wake up is a contract. A contract between who you are and who you're becoming. The hours ahead are not accidents waiting to happen. They are bricks, tools, currency, weapons. And how you spend them determines whether you remain in bondage or rise to rule. Clarity is the blade that cuts through chaos, and without it, even the most talented man becomes a wanderer, chasing noise, mistaking motion for progress, addicted to busyness but starving for direction. You don't need more time. You need more clarity. You don't need more resources. You need to see your vision so vividly that excuses get embarrassed in its presence. Get clear. Not about where you are, but where you're going. What does it look like? What does it feel like to wake up in your power? What does it mean to walk into a room and not need validation because your spirit is already overflowing? Clarity sharpens the blade, but discipline swings it. You think the most powerful men in history always felt like doing the work? You think Carnegie was thrilled to study finance at 2 a.m. when his body begged for sleep? You think Kobe Bryant didn't feel the ache in his knees at 4:30 a.m. when he stepped onto the court before the world opened its eyes? Discipline isn't about motivation. It's about allegiance, loyalty to your vision, obedience to the future you swore you would build. Your goals do not care how you feel. They wait, and the version of you that earns them is forged, not when things are easy, but when you rise while others fold. Discipline is sacrifice, sacrificing who you are for who you must become. It's saying no to short-term dopamine so you can say yes to long-term glory. It's turning down the party to work in silence. It's rejecting comfort to build resilience. It's eating the same meals, lifting the same weight, writing the same pages, shooting the same shots, and doing it again, and again, and again, until the world can't ignore you, until the results speak a language louder than doubt. Let them call it obsession. Let them whisper, "He's changed." Let them say, "She's too intense." Because they've mistaken seriousness for insanity. But you know. There's nothing more sane than becoming the architect of your own destiny. There is a rhythm to greatness. Wake up, lock in, execute, reflect, refine, repeat. Not for a week, not for a month, but until your habits become instincts, and your instincts start generating impact. And the life you once dreamed of, it starts calling you. But this only happens when you stop negotiating with laziness, stop treating time like it's infinite, stop making deals with doubt. Because every second you spend scrolling through another person's life is a second stolen from building your own. People ask, "How do I get motivated?" Wrong question. Ask, "What must I become to no longer require motivation?" Because that is the shift. From chasing highs to becoming a force. From waiting for inspiration to becoming it. Let others wake up and drift. Let others start strong and fade. But you sharpen your vision like a blade. You treat your dream like a kingdom under siege. Worth protecting, worth fighting for, worth bleeding for. That's discipline, not a trend, not a phase, a vow. A vow to become unrecognizable to the version of you that settled, to the version that folded under pressure, to the version that told stories instead of creating results. And when you start moving like that, when your actions match your intentions, the universe begins to move too. Action is the oxygen of belief. Without it, even the most powerful vision will suffocate under the weight of hesitation. Ideas rot without movement. Dreams die in the waiting room of someday. And nothing poisons potential faster than a man who knows what to do, but won't do it. You don't need another book. You don't need another podcast, another seminar. another post to make you feel like you're doing something. What you need is motion, deliberate, focused, uncompromising motion, because greatness is not in the knowing, it's in the doing. 1,000 visions are buried every day under the soil of inaction. But you dig, you build, you plant, and you act like your future depends on it, because it does. You make the call, you launch the idea, you lift the weight, you speak the truth, you step into the fire, and you stay there. Because while the world waits for perfect timing, you create it. While they prepare for the right conditions, you become the condition. And yet, while you're building, while you're bleeding, you must carry something else with you, a force that most forget in their climb to the top. Gratitude. Gratitude is not weakness. It is not softness. It is the strength to see the miracle in the mundane, to honor the process even when the results are invisible, to whisper thank you while sweating through setbacks, to look around, even in the mess, and say, I'm still breathing, I'm still building, I'm still in the fight. You want to rise? Be grateful for the struggle, because that's where your strength is forged. Be grateful for the doubt, because it forces you to double down on your belief. Be grateful for the isolation, because it teaches you to validate yourself. Gratitude sharpens the eyes. It lets you see the lessons buried in failure. It lets you recognize how far you've already come. And when you realize that every storm you survived was preparing you, you stop fearing the thunder. Because now you adapt, you bend, you shift, you learn, you pivot. You don't break, you rewire. The empire is not built in a straight line. It zigzags through loss, betrayal, rejection, doubt. It weaves through changes in direction and unexpected setbacks. But the builder, the real builder, keeps showing up. Because the goal is not perfection. The goal is resilience. Resilience is the decision to stand up, bruised and limping, and say, I'm still coming. It's getting punched in the gut by life and whispering through the pain, that's all you got. Lincoln lost elections. Jobs was fired from his own company. Mandela spent 27 years in a prison cell. And they all came back stronger, because power doesn't come from ease, it comes from endurance. Every scar you carry is a medal. Every setback is a training ground. Every failure is a teacher. And the more you face, the less you fear. So build. Build in silence. Build when no one claps. Build when it's hard, when it's cold, when the voice in your head screams, quit. Because the moment you stop moving is the moment the empire stops rising. But the moment you say, no, not today, I still believe, that's when destiny leans forward. That's when the universe takes notes. That's when the foundations shake and the empire begins to breathe. There comes a moment, quiet, unannounced, when you look in the mirror and realize no one is coming to save you. No mentor, no miracle, no moment of lightning clarity will rescue you from your own hesitation. And that is the most powerful moment of your life. Because that's when you stop waiting and you start becoming. The heroes you admire, they weren't chosen, they chose themselves. They made the decision that enough was enough. Enough wasting time, enough hiding, enough shrinking their soul to fit the mold. They drew a line in the sand and said, I become the one now, the one who changes everything. And when you make that choice, truly, fully, everything shifts. The world bends not to your words, but to your will, and you begin to walk differently. You stop apologizing for your ambition. You stop dimming your light to comfort the blind. You stop explaining yourself to people who never saw your vision. Because now, you're not building for applause. You're building because you can't not build. You're building because the fire won't let you sleep. You're building because mediocrity feels like poison in your bloodstream. That's when it gets dangerous, for the excuses, for the doubts, for the limits. Because now, you're a weapon, sharpened by struggle, tempered in solitude, polished in persistence, a mind forged like steel, a heart unwilling to quit, and a soul that remembers why it began. This is what they don't teach in school, that most of success is suffering you choose, that growth feels like breaking until you break through, that power isn't handed out, it's carved with calloused hands and sleepless nights. You want the crown? Earn the scars. You want the throne? Crawl through the trenches first. And when you arrive, you'll stand on a mountain of every time you could have quit, but didn't. Every time you were told no, but turned it into fuel. Every time the world laughed and you kept building anyway. And that moment when your life begins to reflect the vision that once lived only in your mind, it'll not feel like luck. It will not feel like fate. It will feel like justice. Because deep down, you knew. You always knew. This was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving you right. You're not building an empire for vanity. You're building it because you were born to lead. You're building it because your children will walk in the doors you kicked open. You're building it because someone out there is praying for a reason to believe again. And they need to see you win. So let them doubt, let them mock, let them say you changed. They'll say that until the gates open, until the vision becomes visible, until the empire stands unshakable, undeniable, eternal. And when it does, you won't raise your voice. You'll raise your standard. You won't look back in anger. You'll look forward with fire. Because your work will say it all. Burn the excuses, build the empire, and never ever apologize for becoming exactly who you were born to be. You must understand something. Empires are not built only for kings. They are built by anyone mad enough to believe they could leave the world different than they found it. This isn't just about money. This isn't just about freedom. This is about impact, about immortality. Because the man who lives for himself dies with himself. But the one who builds with purpose, his words echo, his values are passed down like sacred scrolls. His decisions ripple into generations not yet born. That is the empire worth building. One forged in character, not just currency, in conviction, not just comfort, in unshakable identity, not borrowed opinion. Do you think Carnegie's fortune was his real empire? No. It was the libraries, the institutions, the minds he lit on fire. Do you think Martin Luther King's empire was a microphone and a march? No. It was a dream, planted so deep that it still shakes the walls of injustice decades later. Do you think Napoleon Hill's gift was just a book? No. It was the awakening of millions, one belief system at a time. And now, it's your turn. Not to be them, but to be you. Fully realized, fully unleashed, no longer diluted by doubt or dulled by fear. Because this world doesn't need another copy. It needs a force, a voice so real it rattles lies, a presence so powerful it commands reality. You don't get that by following trends. You don't find that by seeking comfort. You become that by burning everything in you that isn't authentic and stepping into the raw, refined truth of who you are. So ask yourself, what do you stand for? What would you die to protect? What will you be remembered for when the noise fades and the dust settles? Because you will be remembered. The question is, how? Will you be remembered as the one who tried, the one who almost made it, the one who talked big but moved small, or the one who defied the odds, the one who silenced every inner demon with pure execution, the one who built so powerfully, so unshakably, so completely, that even after death, your name still built empires in others? Legacy is not carved in marble. It's carved in discipline, in unseen hours, in the decision to rise again and again and again until the dream becomes inevitable. So rise, as if you were chosen, because you were, as if this moment matters, because it does, as if your voice can shift the world, because it can. And when the voices return, the old ones, the ones that say, "You're not enough, stay safe, shrink, wait, don't dream too big," smile. Because now you know what to do with them. Burn them. Burn the lies. Burn the fear. Burn the excuses. And build, brick by brick, step by step, hour by hour, in silence, in pain, in power, until the vision becomes real, until the world finally sees what you always knew, that inside of you lived something royal, something divine, something dangerous, and now it has risen. The excuses are ash. The old you is gone. The throne is waiting. The empire has begun.